The Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business Podcast brings you a unique view of Mesa through its vibrant business community and the subjects that are important. The podcast is produced in the Mesa Chamber of Commerce Media Studio, sponsored by the University of Phoenix. Our podcast is hosted by Mesa Chamber of Commerce CEO Sally Harrison. Please enjoy this episode of the Mesa Chamber Inside Business Podcast.
Hi, I'm Sally Harrison, the President and CEO of the Mesa Chamber of Commerce. And today, in our podcast studio, we have the opportunity to visit with a candidate for Mesa City Council, Trista Guzman Glover.
That's me.
That's you. Yes, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm
Of
excited to be
course.
here.
Well, we are excited. Obviously, our board chose to endorse you for District 4 a few weeks ago, and I wanted to have you come in and, introduce yourself to people.
Absolutely.
So tell us about yourself. Who is Trista?
Trista is an Arizona native. I've lived here my whole life. Mesa native for about 7 years or so. But I've lived in the East Valley most of my life and have loved living in the East Valley. I think this is the place to be, and I think Mesa is the place to be in the East Valley. Graduate from ASU 2 times, bachelor's in political science, master in public administration, big civil servant. That's kind of what I wanted to do with my life the whole time that I have been in my career. I worked for the state for almost 11 years.
Wow.
In 2 different governor's offices,
Very
2
nice.
gubernatorial administrations, which was a lot of fun. So I gained a lot of experience there. And, who I am is somebody who has worked in those environments, worked in a fast-paced environment, worked for people, have a heart for people. And, I am somebody that understands how government should work and that it should work for the people that where they live. It should work for them.
That's good. And you're a mom?
My mom from here, I am a mom.
Yes,
Hold
you
on.
are.
Yes, I'm a mom. My son had him last year. He was kind of the big reason that I decided to run for office. I never actually saw myself running for office. And then I was like, no, I have ideas. I have thoughts about how Mesa can be and how it can be better. And I want Mesa to be a place that Fitz grows up and loves and wants to raise his family one day here. And so, that was one of the reasons I chose to
We'll
run.
talk about the other reasons that you decided to run for city council.
Absolutely. There were a few reasons, Fitz being the biggest one.
Yeah.
But, I have heard from a lot of my neighbors that they don't feel like their concerns are heard at City Hall. I have heard from, public safety that they don't feel like they're getting the adequate resources that they need. And I think that's a huge issue. And I think it's hugely important to our community here in Mesa. But I think the biggest one, other than Fitz, is that people don't feel like their voice is being heard. I think citizens, if they're wanting to participate in the process, which I think everybody should want to participate in the process, they should be heard. They should have a voice at the table. They should be able to express themselves and what they think and be heard by their representatives. It's one thing to speak up, to actually be heard. And that doesn't mean that if you bring something up, people are always going to vote with you or vote your way, but that you have a voice at the table, that you feel like you're heard. And that goes a long way with people, even if it doesn't necessarily come down their way, just feeling like they had somebody listen to them and that they're heard.
Right.
I heard that at the state level, all people want is to be heard, they feel appreciated and feel valued, that they bring up important topics. At the end of the day, that goes a long way for people.
Sure. Well, and to be part of the process, right?
Yeah. And it's important to be part of the process. I'm a big proponent of being part of the process.
Good. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing your district, District 4?
I see, as one of the biggest issues for Mesa, but also for District 4, it's kind of twofold. It is public safety. I know specifically of a couple of instances where individuals in the district, specifically in District 4, have reached out and had long response times with police department. They've reached out and they have had issues where they get a hold and they say, hey, so this instance is happening. Specifically, someone I know has a medical complex parking lot behind their home, and they heard someone beating a woman in that parking lot and called PD, saw it over their fence. No one came, and that woman got thrown in the car and the person drove off, and they got a call from PD 2 days later that said, hey, sorry, we didn't have anybody to send out. And that's not PD's fault if they don't have the resources that they need to be able to help. But when people go to call for those public safety instances, they're really hoping somebody's going to show up.
There's an expectation, right?
Exactly. And I think that's a reasonable expectation. I think that's honestly, public safety is the most important function of local government. And then additionally, homelessness. We have a big chunk of light rail that comes through, and with that occasionally comes transient people, homeless people. This is a district that I think homelessness has plagued a lot. I don't know that other districts have exactly the same issue with homelessness. And I think that, a lot of times people think off of light rail, public transit, that's where any type of housing structures need to go. That's where we need to build all these. But I don't think it's fair to have them all in one district. I think it should be spread out. And I think the city needs to do something. It's only going to get worse with thoughts of a looming recession, with inflation getting as high as it is. There are going to be more people who don't have homes. And we as a city, working with other cities, working with the state, working with nonprofits like A New Leaf and Save the Family, Pause to Cristo, Human Services Campus in downtown Phoenix, we need to work all together to figure out how we're going to move forward. Sure. It's not a Mesa approach. It's not just Mesa making the decisions. Sure, it's more of a region. It's a regional, but I think it's a big issue for this district.
Sure. Okay, so obviously homelessness is one of your priorities. Talk about kind of your slate of priorities that you have for your district and how you would approach that.
I discussed public safety. That's a hugely important thing, not just police, but fire as well. Sure. So I really think, again, that's a core function of local government to have a fully funded and adequate staffing level and all the resources that they need. Homelessness is an issue, but I think some of the other things that are really important to me are basically, being a business-friendly environment. I think that there are always ways to be better, always ways to entice new businesses to come to Mesa. When businesses are looking for a place in Arizona, they should look at Mesa as where they want to go. This is
we agree with that.
This is the place, and I think a good government's responsibility is to make sure that we make it easy for businesses to come here. They're pumping more money into our economy, hopefully bringing higher paying jobs. People shouldn't have to go to government to get a permission slip to start a business or to do their job. Sure. I just don't believe that government should be getting involved in that. So I think that is like another hugely important thing. And then just my last priority, I would say, in addition to everything else that's already been mentioned, is just being a voice for residents on council. Again, I've had a lot of people tell me they don't feel like their voice is heard, or they bring things up and, that just gets pushed to the side. I had someone that was concerned about some type of development that was going in their neighborhood, and they were basically told by City Hall, well, just accept it and deal with it because it's happening. And, maybe it is happening, but that's not really the approach that you want when you're reaching out. Yeah. So I want people to know that they can come to me with their concerns and that I'll listen and I'll do what I can to help.
Right. Very good. Let's talk about jobs. What types of jobs does Mesa need? What do you think? What's your plan for economic development?
I think that Mesa needs high paying jobs. Inflation has gone up. It's housing market's a little bit crazy right now. We need those high paying jobs and need people to be moving in, not just businesses, but also residents moving to Mesa and being able to actually live here and afford it. So I think we need high paying jobs. I think we need to continue to have, contracting companies like Boeing. We need those Boeings. We need them to stay in Mesa. We need tech jobs. I think anything in healthcare, is important. We need to have a wide range of things available, but we need to make sure that along with it is coming high paying jobs, because Arizona isn't as affordable as it used to be. And it's still really affordable compared to, California. But
Sure.
I think it's important that we incentivize people to come to Mesa. That doesn't necessarily mean in government incentivizing, but people should come here and see that this is the best place to live, to work, to recreate. Mesa's great, and they should want to move their business here, move their family here, do everything in Mesa.
You're like the poster child for Mesa. I love that. I would agree, though. I mean, Mesa is a great place, and being here now is just a good time to be here.
It's such a good time.
It's exciting.
It's exciting. There's a lot going on. We've had a lot of development. There's still going to be more.
Yes.
I think even thinking of a looming recession, I still think we have set ourselves up for success. And I am, excited to see what Mesa continues to do.
Well, talk about what is unique in your district, because obviously a downtown community is a little different than some of the outskirts of our really large city. Talk about the unique aspect of District 4.
It is unique. We've got a downtown area. We've got, what is seeming to be a more thriving downtown area than there has been in a while, which I think is exciting. We've got the Temple area, all the money that the church just recently put in over there. Pioneer Park is over there. Some nice new parks have been developed in those areas. I think we've got a thriving arts, district as well. I think all of these things are uniquely District 4. And I think every district kind of has that one little thing that's, specific to them.
Sure.
But I do think, going back to, not having a voice, I don't think people outside of those little pockets feel like they have much of a voice. They're like, oh, I'm not exactly by the temple. I'm not exactly in downtown. Making sure everybody feels comfortable and welcome in the district.
All right.
And that would be something that I'd want to work on. Again, these places are great, and we need to make sure that everybody feels connected to their community.
Good. So, when you're elected, what do you see Mesa? How do you see Mesa? Where is Mesa going in your first term?
I see a better resourced public safety. I think it's important. I can't harp on it enough. I know I mention it a lot, but we are growing. We have businesses coming. We need to make sure that if they have an issue, that they're getting responded to. We just have more people moving to Arizona in general, and Mesa is a big city, and there's people moving here. And if our public safety doesn't grow with that, it's an issue. If our fire departments aren't growing with that, we don't have adequate response times. We need to make sure that that's a priority. And that really would be my top priority, making sure that, public safety feels supported by their council, by City Hall. Hugely important. And that would be my biggest priority, public safety. Meaning that it touches everything, right? Like, sure. If you have a strong public safety, you have safer areas for businesses to go in, to thrive, to not have to worry about being, having things stolen, having there be thefts issues or vandalism issues. And so I think it really is, and even that it includes touching the homelessness issue. All of these things are interconnected. I think a really big portion of that is making sure that we have enough police officers, that we have enough public safety individuals, that we're not having people working hours and hours of overtime, and really making sure that they're adequately resourced. It's important.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to mention? Anything else you want people to know?
just to reiterate that, I am somebody who will listen to people's concerns. One of my many jobs when I was at the state was director of constituent services. And I spent a lot of time every day talking to constituents. And a lot of times those are upset constituents. You're not usually reaching out unless you're upset about something. But I also did have an opportunity to talk to individuals outside of that environment and just hear their thoughts about what's going on. And I think we are a better community if people are getting involved, and we're a better community if our elected officials are listening to us. So when I am elected to city council, I will be very happy to talk to anybody and be their voice if no one else is willing to do it.
Very good. So how do people find out more about you? You have a website?
The website, Trista 4mesa.com, kind of a play on District 4 and 4. I have Twitter, I have Facebook, I have Instagram. My email address is Trista4, spelled out F-O-R, Mesa @gmail.com. Happy to chat with anybody any way they'd like to chat.
Great. Well, thanks for coming in. I'm sure we'll see more of you over the next few weeks and months.
Absolutely.
All right. Stop by anytime.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
This has been a Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business podcast. You can find all podcast episodes at iTunes, Spotify, or your own favorite podcast website. You can also find them online at mesachamber.org. Content of this podcast is copyright the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, unless otherwise noted.